In a quiet corner of the Japanese mountains, where the mist clings to pine trees, and morning dew coats the earth like a blessing, there once stood a Zen monastery. Time seemed slower there. Even the wind moved with patience. It was in this place that a young monk named Haru lived, searching for something he could not name. Haru had arrived at the monastery full of purpose. He had shaved his head, put away the noise of the world, and devoted himself to the path of Zen. He meditated for hours, studied ancient scriptures by candlelight, and followed every ritual with care. Yet despite all his effort, peace evaded him. His thoughts ran like wild horses. The more he tried to quiet them, the louder they became. Questions echoed in his head. Am I doing this right? Why don't I feel enlightened? Why do I still feel so far from truth? The other monks moved through their days, like water flowing over stones, calm, effortless. But Haru felt like he was drowning in his own mind. He looked to the Zen master, an old man with soft eyes and a presence like still water. The master rarely spoke, but when he did, it was with such clarity that it stopped the world around him. Haru longed for his guidance, for his voice, for something, anything that might break the fog he was lost in. One morning, Haru could no longer bear the silence between himself and the peace he sought. The mist was thick that day, curling low across the path like breath on glass. Haru waited outside the master's quarters. As the master stepped out, Haru bowed low, then looked up with urgency in his eyes. "Master," he said, "please forgive me for speaking so boldly, but I am troubled. I have followed every teaching, kept every rule, meditated deeply and sincerely. Yet my heart is full of noise. I feel no closer to understanding, no nearer to enlightenment. Why is it still so far from me?" The master looked at him gently, but said nothing. Haru waited, unsure. "Please," he added, "say something. I've come to you for guidance." Still, the master did not speak. He simply turned and began walking down a path behind the temple, one Haru had never followed before. Confused but hopeful, Haru fell into step behind him. They walked in silence. The gravel crunched beneath their sandals. A breeze stirred the leaves. The world felt impossibly quiet. At the end of the path was a small clearing with a fire pit and a kettle already heating. Without a word, the master poured water into a teapot and set 2 simple cups on the wooden bench. He poured tea, slow, careful, as though the pouring itself was a kind of prayer. Then he handed Haru 1 cup, took the other for himself, and sat. Still no words. Haru sat too, holding the cup in both hands. He was tense at first, confused. Was this the answer? Was this a lesson? Was he supposed to ask again? But the longer they sat, the more the silence began to soften. He noticed the warmth of the tea through the cup, the scent of earth and leaves in the air, the sound of the wind in the trees, the fire crackling beside them. He sipped the tea, and for the first time in many days, his mind did not speak. After a long while, the master looked at him, not with instruction, but with quiet knowing, and spoke. "When the cup is full," he said, "there is no room for tea. When the mind is full of questions, there is no space for truth." Then he smiled, just slightly, and nothing more was said. The next morning, Haru woke before the sun, as always. He swept the stone path, just as he had every day before. But this time, the wind on his face felt different. He did not push away his thoughts. He did not chase peace. He simply moved, breathed, and listened. And somehow that was enough. Years passed. Haru stayed at the monastery and, in time, became a teacher himself. He was never called master. He never wanted to be. But people came to him with questions, with restless hearts, with minds full of noise. Sometimes they spoke for a long time. Sometimes they begged for answers. And often, Haru would listen carefully, then say nothing. He would pour tea, and they would sit together in silence, watching steam rise into the quiet. And more often than not, that silence gave them the answer they had come looking for.